And welcome everybody to Three and Out, the grand finale, show number 7 here on the Super Bowl Marathon and IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are just 2.5 hours from kickoff, and we are set to have some exciting fun here on this show. I'm, of course, Ricky K from New York State of Sports. Joining me on today's show is my former Staten Island compadre, since I am not in Staten Island anymore. He hosts the Yinzer Report every Friday night here on the network. Ralph Calise is in the house. And, of course, we're show number 7, so we got to be the Ben Roethlisberger episode.
There you go.
Ralph, how are you?
Hey, buddy, what's up? Good to see you. And, glad to be aboard with you on this exciting day here on IE Sports Radio. I've been pumped up all day for this. I've been following all the shows and looking to have a great time with you doing this today, and glad to be on.
So Ralph and I have always wanted to do a show. We've actually both met in person in October at the Met playoff game. So this is kind of a long time, months in the making of this kind of show, which is always fantastic. And we're both now IE Sports Radio Hall of Famers. We're going to be getting into the Hall of Fame a little bit later in the show. Of course, coming up on the docket, we're going to have some talk about Super Bowl legacies. We're going to have some talk on Tom Brady in the booth, positive effects on what he can do in the booth, and we're going to talk about our favorite legacy moments in Super Bowl. So we want to hear from you on that, your favorite moment, legacy-defying moments in Super Bowls. I want to remind you, of course, you can follow me on X at Rickinator555 or at NY State Sports IE. That's the show I host, of course, every Monday. And you can follow Ralph at Calise R786 on X or at Yinzer Report _IE. We got Larry
Fridays at 8.
Fridays at 8.
Yes.
Okay, he's got the prime time slot. Larry's in the house. Of course, it's been a great day so far, so we're hoping to keep the conversation going. And
what's up, Larry?
How are you, man? So we're hopefully gonna crush it. But let's get started with. We're gonna get into the game, of course, as well. But when I was thinking about topics for this show, and we were both trying to, because everybody's done a great job today on the network coming up with different angles to look at this big game, as I thought about legacies and significant moments that change the way we look at players. Like one of the guys we're going to get into later today is Eli Manning. We look at Eli Manning a lot differently because of 2 Super Bowls compared to if he didn't have those Super Bowls, how we look at him. Another name I thought of was like Joe Flacco. Like Joe Flacco is a guy that won a Super Bowl, and probably if he doesn't have that Super Bowl, is not viewed as well as he would otherwise. So the question is, when you look at the postseasons in sports, and particularly Super Bowls, can a Super Bowl really change the legacy of a player? Does it have that impact where we think one way and all of a sudden a player plays well in a Super Bowl and it goes another way? What are your thoughts on that, Ralph?
Yeah, so I think that's definitely a great this is a great segment and a great thing to think of because as you could tell a lot of guys that win the Super Bowl, what's the first thing that they say after they, if they get shown on TV? Hey, I'm going to Disney World, right? So that's a change right there in their life. They're like a big star. But changing a legacy for a Super Bowl player, I have a good one. I don't know. I'm going way back. Doug Williams from the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
When they won the Super Bowl, he was part of that Super Bowl team. I believe he had some problems afterwards. Afterwards, he won the Super Bowl, and from being a good legacy to a bad legacy, things like that could happen too. So legacy is a big word in a Super Bowl, and he was just like one guy I thought of it, and legacy is like I said, it's a big word, and it can change a person's career, even if they are a champion, to whether champion better, worse, whatever. So that's how I look at it, being as a legacy, a Super Bowl change of a legacy, which I believe there is a legacy happening right now with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a legacy already, and they didn't even win yet, in my opinion. And if they win today, there'd be a true legacy because it's going to be a three-peat, and that's never been done in football. So whoever's on that team and been part of all 3 wins, there's their legacy.
So the question, I think, to go off of that is, can it hurt your legacy? Like, I'll give an example. Like, if Patrick Mahomes loses the Super Bowl and now all of a sudden is 2-2 in Super Bowls.
Right.
or 3-2 in Super Bowls, actually. Does that hurt him? And then likewise with Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, loses the Super Bowl, and Hurts goes 0-2 against Mahomes, or he gets a win, do we look at Jalen Hurts differently, win or lose, would probably be my argument.
That's a good argument, and I see what you're saying. I think it would hurt. I almost caught myself there. I think it would Hurts more because he'll be 0-2, and he lost 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowls to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, I don't really think it would change a legacy for him because he already has 3, and he's going for his 4th, and I'm sure he's going to get many chances to have more. So that's how we look at it, like that, as far as the quarterbacks as a legacy.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that because you look at the situation with Hurts. Like, I don't really look at Hurts differently because of necessarily if he were to lose this game. I don't think it really changes a lot of things.
Right.
Because in the end, he gets – I mean, think about Hurts getting back to this game. When we look at Super Bowl losing quarterbacks, we don't never really see them get back if they've never won one before. Like the difference probably like Brady got back. Brady's won before though. Peyton Manning lost the Super Bowl, but he had won one prior, but didn't get back after the second time. It's really tough for first-time guys to necessarily lose and come back. So I think I give Hurts more credit just for getting back to this game.
Yeah,
Mahomes is a little bit different because I think you look at Mahomes, we kind of make the argument with Brady that we'll talk about later. Like if Brady had lost the Seattle Super Bowl, which I would say one of my legacy moments is Malcolm Butler. If Malcolm Butler doesn't have an interception, Russell Wilson's got back-to-back titles, and it completely flips everything the other way. If Mahomes loses this one, all of a sudden the GOAT conversation kind of quiets down to a degree. It doesn't hurt him from a great career that he's got now, but you now lose that cherry on top in a sense if you end up not getting that three-peat. So the quarterbacks for sure, I think, are affected in some way. Are there any other players that you think have a lot on the line in this game from a legacy or career perspective?
Well, just getting back to the legacy part with the quarterbacks, there are, like you said, there are a lot of quarterbacks that only have gotten or made it to the Super Bowl once and they haven't won. So, you could say right off the bat that's in their minds maybe, or the way their team looks at them, that's part of a legacy for them just to make it to the Super Bowl. But, you had the other guy in Philadelphia, Nick Foles. Was it Nick Foles who won the Super Bowl? Look at the legacy he created, and he just won one. But that's an interesting topic. And legacy, like I said, is a big word. As far as other players in this game, I know you have Kelce on the Chiefs, and you got all that stuff going on with him. Outside football, but if we're just talking football in sense, if he wins today, it's going to be definitely a legacy for him because there's reports out there that he's probably going to retire after this year. So to go out as a three-peat champion would be, I guess, surreal for him. And you also have Saquon Barkley on the Eagles. I think this could be a legacy game for him to follow up on the year that he had after leaving the Giants. Poor Giant fans. But by the way, you did a great job covering the Giants this year without him. And I know they're all hurting out there in Giant land because I have a lot of friends that are Giant fans. But this guy could really have, I think, like, if the Eagles win, I think he's going to have the biggest legacy out of anybody on the Eagles because, like I said, the year he had and where he came from with the Giants. And man, if I look at things in football, they held him out the last game to go for the record for the rushing title. Could you imagine if he went and he went out and he played and he had gotten the rushing record and he was coming into today's game and they win? That's legacy written all over it right there.
See, I'd argue though on Barkley, I don't think we look at his season differently if they don't win. I think the only reason
Oh no,
you
no,
would look
definitely
at
not. I'm just saying in the legacy factor, it would,
right.
it would totally turn it up a notch.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and
no, for sure.
I was going to mention this about the Super Bowl things, but just to mention this on like I'm a big memorabilia guy, and I do memorabilia parts on my show. In memorabilia, each accolade you get, that like adds on the players, like, as you would say, price going up, to get like their autograph or something. So this is an interesting fact. Any type of accolade that they get, Super Bowl win, MVP, any accolade you could think of, anything higher. If you're looking to like get in a piece of memorabilia of this guy, like I have my Super Bowl trophy set up here, they're all like signed and everything. The price of the player goes up, and it's just we'll get into it later when we talk about the guys who made the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I look at it that way, and it's just an accolade, and it just makes the player better.
So let's switch it over to coaches, because Larry brings up this is a big game for Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. I think Sirianni definitely needs this game to avoid going 0-2 in Super Bowls. I think, though, the coach that has the most to gain, Sirianni, I think, has the most to lose. I think the most to gain is not even Andy Reid. It's Steve Spagnuolo. Okay. Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator. I know I think it's a stupid thing that you can't get in the Hall of Fame as a coordinator, because he is probably the best defensive coordinator of all time. I mean, considering the Super Bowl with the Giants, how many Super Bowls he's won with the Chiefs, it's been remarkable the kind of run he's been on, that he just has crazy game plans. Like Belichick has his game plan against the Bills in the Hall of Fame from the 90s. I mean, I guess because Steve Spagnuolo doesn't have a specific game plan, but I'm sure you could probably put the 07 against the Patriots in the Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yes. Well, I have a lot of, as you called them before we came on the air, I have a lot of fun facts on these coaches for the Chiefs coming up, especially if they like win the third Super Bowl. And I'll start with Steve Spagnuolo, like you said. He's already won 4 Super Bowls. He's won 3 with the Chiefs and 1 with the Giants. And now he's going for the 3-peat champion. He's in his 6th season as Chiefs defensive coordinator. And right now he is the only coordinator, now listen to the stat, to win 4 Super Bowl titles, like you just mentioned. So he's in a league of his own right now. And he's going to have the 2 Super Bowl titles with 2 different teams. And he has Eagle ties. All these coaches that I will mention to you all have ties with the Eagles, which is crazy to believe that they're playing them second time in 3 years for a Super Bowl title, and they all were with the Eagles in a capacity. So he has Eagle ties with the Eagles from 2001 to 2006. He was the DBs and the linebacker coach, and I found that amazing when I looked that up. So the legacies in the game are not just for the players. Going back to the legacy part, you got these. I wrote down these 4 coaches for the Chiefs that have forget about it, astounding things. And they, like I said, they were all part of the Eagles. Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and the other guy's name I believe is Dave Taub, Toub, and he is the assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. So we'll see what happens. The game is played by the players, but hey, the coaches are the mastermind of it, right? So I guess they got to get their due too.
I'll give you one more player, and then we'll take our first time out. And Larry talking about Josh McDaniels as a Hall of Fame offensive coordinator, but the worst head coach ever. I could see that.
That happens to a lot of coaches. They can't take the helm. They can't become a head coach. And Matt Nagy is one. I have Matt Nagy down here. He was the he coached the Bears. And that first year he coached the Bears. If Adam Karnick is out there and he knows, he was coach of the year. He was coach of the year, and then he left 2 years later and he came back to KC. He started with KC, and now he went to the Bears, and now he's with KC again. And like I said, he had ties with the Eagles too. He was a player for the Eagles. He was a practice squad member for the Eagles in 2009, and he was an Eagles coaching intern in 2011-2012, offensive quality control coach. And
So I would say also player wise, Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Tooney would be a big one. Now Joe Tooney, if the Chiefs win today, would have 5 Super Bowls as an offensive lineman.
There you go.
There is only two. There's only 2 players in NFL history that have at least 5. Tom Brady with 7, who of course played with Joe Tooney in New England and actually voted for Joe Tooney gave Joe Tooney Offensive Player of the Year vote, and Charles Haley. So to be on that list of having 5 Super Bowls in offensive linemen and to kind of go play with both of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, be a hell of an accomplishment.
Oh yeah, definitely 5 Super Bowls. So, like I said, you're doing the players. You want me to give you Andy Reid? What Andy Reid has done?
Well, let's do that right after. So let's take our first quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Andy Reid. We'll talk our favorite moments that define legacies in Super Bowls, and we'll talk Tom Brady in the broadcast booth. You're listening to 3 and Out, the grand finale, show number 7 here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all those sports. We'll be right back in just a minute.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And of course, welcome back to 3 and Out, the grand finale, show number 7 here on IE Sports Radio, a direct feed for all that is sports. Ricky K from New York State of Sports, Ralph Calise from the Inns Report here on the show today, as we are just about 2 hours from the kickoff, which of course you can catch on our sister station USRN at 6:30. Matthew Owens on the call, does a really good job with that. So before we went to break, of course, during the break, we got a lot of Go Eagles comments here in the chat. Ray Mahon, Larry, Mary Shea. So we got a lot of Eagles fans tuning into the show today, which is fantastic. So you left off with talking about Andy Reid. So I'll let you chime in on that.
Oh yeah, so like we've been talking about with legacies and players, like you were saying, what players, and I was saying the coaches. So Andy Reid, he has major ties, of course, as everybody knows, with the Eagles, and that's where he started his coaching career. But he has the three Super Bowls already with the Chiefs, and he also won one as an assistant coach with the Green Bay Packers before he became a head coach. Funny, he's part of the Eagles' 75th anniversary team. That's the ties that he has with the Eagles. And his coaching record is just insane. He's 273 and 146 with a 651 winning percentage. That's just regular season. Postseason 28 and 16 with 636 winning percentage, and his career is 301 and 162, 650 winning percentage. Just the stats with the Eagles, he was 130 wins, 93 losses, and that was 14 years. He had 6 first-place finishes in the NFC East. He had 4 second-place finishes in the NFC East, 9 playoff appearances, 5 NFC championship games, 1 and 4, and they lost to the Patriots. Now, you probably know the quarterback that was for the Eagles back then because I know you cover Syracuse for the New York Sports show, and that was Donovan McNabb. You realize you talk about legacies. We talk about legacies. We should have threw him in there. 5 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl, and he's never won a Super Bowl, but he's been in 5 total NFC championships. That's something.
I think their best shot was 2003 when they lost to Carolina at home.
Yes.
I feel like that was if they're going to get one, it was going to be that one. Of course, they make it to the Super Bowl the next year.
Yes.
But that was probably, I think, his biggest opportunity lost. That was a really good Eagles team.
So, and then just to finish on Andy Reid, only 3 seasons out of 26 as a coach has he had a losing record. And all 12 seasons with the Chiefs, he's never had a regular season losing record. So this guy wins the game today. I mean, like I mentioned about Chuck Noll on my show Friday, you could put this guy in 2 Hall of Fames. He deserves it. He deserves it. But what bugs me out is just the ties with the Eagles that each one of these 4 coaches that the Chiefs have, and they're going for a 3-peat versus them. It's just amazing. It's like a full circle.
Well, somebody take their coaches. I mean, we talk about the brain drain that usually happens with dynasties. We haven't really seen a brain drain. And really, when you think about it, they replaced Eric Bieniemy with Matt Nagy. We've clearly seen it doesn't matter if they change offensive coordinators, that it changes different things. So if you want to beat them, somebody take their coordinators and make them coaches.
Yeah.
Kind of bring something.
Maybe they don't want to leave because they know they're going to win every year. Like, why leave?
Sure.
Why leave? But Spagnuolo, that's crazy. He's got some crazy as a coordinator, the only coordinator to do what he's done. And man, I just if the Chiefs repeat today, if they three-peat, that's good. This is a team for the ages and beyond and beyond. In my opinion.
I agree. So what would you say? We've talked about it a little bit. Your favorite legacy moment in the Super Bowl?
My as in general or as a Steeler fan?
You could throw one of each if you want.
Okay. So the one that I would say not a Steeler fan was the one where the Niners played the Bengals and Joe Montana had that game-winning drive and he hit John Taylor with the game-winning touchdown pass. That just put the 49ers at their peak where you knew that Joe Montana was great and everybody around them was great. And that was a legacy moment for that team. That made the 49ers, the West Coast offense, Bill Walsh, and whatever else. Like you mentioned before, I think Charles Haley was part of that team. And that just put them over the top. That made them the legacy. My legacy game, Super Bowl game for the Steelers, it had to be sorry, if Alden K, if you're listening, it had to be that game where Ben threw that pass to Santonio Holmes because that team had an offense. If you go back and look at the names of that team with that offensive line, you probably wouldn't even recognize any of them. You wouldn't recognize any of that offensive line. And that offensive line was downgraded all year. And they just won, and then they wound up winning the Super Bowl. And just a note on that game, I had a party at my house, which I don't even know why I did that. And there was actually 3 people that picked me up off the floor. Yes, Larry, February 1st, 2009. Like we discussed, that was your birthday. I remember you telling me that. I was Ricky. I was all fours laid out, face first on the floor. I don't know if I passed out. I don't know what the deal was. And I had 3 people grab me and pick me up and put me in a chair and say, "It's not over. It's not over. You still got like 1minute and 49 seconds left. Hang in there. Hang in there." And then when they won, there was euphoria in the house. I think the dog ran away that night. We don't even know. We had to go out and find the dog after they won. But yeah, that was for me as a Steeler fan. That would be my legacy moment in the Super Bowl with that play.
So I would say when you look at from my perspective, from Patriots wise, I think it would be the Malcolm Butler one like we talked about, because you have a situation in which takes away Russell Wilson's back-to-back Super Bowls. We don't look at Tom Brady's fourth quarter kind of the same way, because we talk about 20-3 all the time. But to me, when you look at being down 10 points against the Legion of Boom to rally the way they did, I think that is impressive in of itself.
That was amazing. That was, yes.
I was going to take your Steeler one, actually, from a standpoint of, you look at Kurt Warner.
Okay.
If Kurt Warner wins that Super Bowl, he wins with 2 different teams, with St. Louis, with Arizona. So that would really change Kurt Warner's legacy, I think, even though he's a Hall of Famer anyway. I would say non-Patriot wise, I would say John Elway, the crazy flip over touchdown against the Packers in 97, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Because if Denver doesn't win that game, we look at John Elway differently. John Elway gets eventually the second Super Bowl against the Falcons for retiring. So I think from that standpoint, and Brett Favre also would, I think, have back-to-back, because Favre won against Bledsoe the year before. So that also, I think, changes the picture entirely from that perspective. So got to give credit, I think, to the Broncos on that one. Larry asked you about it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, he's asking, is that the famous "Hey, look, it's John Candy" game? I believe it was. Yes, I believe it was. But I was going to say, hey, a legacy game could be any one of those Super Bowls that the guy. Look at Joe Namath. Joe Namath in 69. He went out there and said, "Hey, we're going to win," and they did. That's legacy right there. But like I said, one Super Bowl win, and that can be your legacy as a quarterback, a player, or whatever.
So let's talk about, of course, one of those guys that has many legacy moments in Super Bowls, and that's Tom Brady, who, of course, is in the booth for Fox today along with Kevin Burkhardt, which Burkhardt will be his second Super Bowl, calling it with Greg Olsen a couple of years ago. And I would say there's been a lot of mixed reviews on Brady this year in the booth. I think Brady definitely is different than when he's on with Colin Cowherd, like on the Herd. He does a really good job, and I think he's more loose. Okay. But I think Tom Brady could have a good effect on this Super Bowl from one standpoint, or 2 standpoints, actually. One, he knows how to beat this guy. Like, there's outside of Joe Burrow, there's nobody knows how to beat Patrick Mahomes one-on-one than Tom Brady, which I think it's kind of the specter of Brady over Mahomes in this game is, I think, really a fun thing, especially if Mahomes loses. How much I think Brady internally, I think, is going to be thrilled by that. So I don't think he's going to be something he couldn't accomplish was a 3-peat, and if he accomplishes, it's different. The second one is I think he's going to give you a great way on how to think about a Super Bowl. One thing being, when you look at Brady's Patriots Super Bowls, they never started fast at all. I think it was, if they had scored a first quarter touchdown, it maybe is like 1, but they never really found a way to get hot out of the gate. So when you're looking for these offenses to get going, I think Brady's going to help give you the standpoint of, hey, it takes a while to get into this game, the nerves, everything like that. I'm interested to see how much of his Super Bowl experience he brings to the broadcast because I think there's a valuable thing for a guy who's been in 10 of these things. Like how much
legacy,
how much he can bring. I mean, I guess the other legacy moment I should have brought up, but it brings me too much pain, is David Tyree. I refuse to bring that up, and I jokingly tell my kids one day that game never existed. Yes, for those who wonder, I host a New York show, and yet I'm wearing a Tom Brady jersey today, but that's besides the point. But what are your thoughts of Brady in the booth? What are you looking for?
I actually think this is like a great thing. Like, you have a player of that caliber, Super Bowl caliber, in the booth announcing the game. I mean, I, for one, of course, as you know, being a Steeler fan, I am not a big Tom Brady fan because, as you've said on my shows, if this guy wasn't around, I'm sure as far as a lot of other teams, the Steelers would have had at least 2 more Super Bowls in their back pocket. But I think this is a great thing that he is going to be announcing the game, and I think he's gonna do well with the X's and O's about it. And I don't really foresee, because I like we spoke about this before when we were talking about it. I think the production crew is going to be like, all right, hey, leave out what you did in Super Bowl this, Super Bowl that, just concentrate on the game with Kevin Burkhardt and go like that. But I did read something today earlier. He was there was a thing on. I wonder if he said it on that Colin Coward show that you mentioned. He did say that the pressure, before he even announced the game, he's putting the pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Like we were saying before with Jalen Hurts, do you want to be the guy who's going to lose twice to Patrick Mahomes? And Patrick Mahomes, how's he going to do after he, if he loses this Super Bowl? He's saying that. What he said was in his comment was the pressure's on Patrick Mahomes to whereas his Super Bowl record would look much better at 4-1 than 3-2. So now I don't know if he's basically saying that like he's rooting against him and he's letting that out now before he does the broadcast, but it makes sense. It makes sense, and that's what we just spoke about before with the the quarterbacks and the legacy. But I think he's going to do a tremendous job. I mean, he's got the look, he's got the voice. I think Kevin Burkhardt is one of the most upcoming rising broadcasters because, as you know, we knew Kevin Burkhardt from New York, rooting for the Mets and watching the Mets. That's where he started. If you guys didn't know that out there, he started as the sideline reporter for the Mets, and then he went all the way up to where he is now. So kudos to him for that. And I think they make a great team. So, yeah, I think his insight on the game should be spot on. And, hey, just like give him another championship for the announcing title for the Super Bowls. And that's how I feel about Tom Brady announcing this game. I mean, I'll be listening to him. I want to see. I want to that comment that I just mentioned that he made. I want to see if he delves into it on the air, he's rooting against Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. That's how I see that comment that he made.
Well, I think he parallels it to his career because you look at Mahomes, he's chasing ghosts at this point. I mean, the ghost is different than this ghost is in the booth. I mean, Brady's not a ghost technically, but when you look at him in Montana,
that's a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it. Chasing ghosts. I love it.
And the same point, Brady looks at, I think, the way that the Seattle game did for him. If Brady loses that game, which is the Deflategate Super Bowl, he's 3-3, hadn't won since 2004, and it changes. I think it changes the whole Brady Montana conversation. Okay. That's why that game was, I think, so crucial for him. Taking the Atlanta one aside and the second Rams one aside. It's one that it's the way we look at these things. If Mahomes, especially Mahomes as a clunker, let's say he plays as bad as he did against Tampa Bay and the Todd Bowles defense. Now we're looking at Mahomes differently. They might kind of look at Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning won Super Bowl, lost Super Bowl to the Saints, close one, but still lost it. And then you have the situation where with the Seahawks, they got their butts kicked. And I think that's a ding on Peyton Manning that the Broncos didn't show up in that Super Bowl.
Right. That's a good point. All good points.
So let us know, Larry. Let us know, of course, what he thinks. And I think Brady, to his credit, has done a much better job than Tony Romo in the booth. I must say.
I think you're greatest quarterback of all time in the booth for the game. He dominated throughout his career. Yes. I don't understand that next comment. I don't know if you do.
I don't think so, but
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, but so let's take one more time out. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame because there's the big history portion of the show. I think this class is going to be more defined for who didn't get in than who did get in, which I think creates a real interesting conversation.
And I have a good fact about that too.
Ralph's got more fun facts. See, that's why we're just going to put Ralph's fun fact on the bottom.
Ralph's fun facts for Super Bowl.
So we'll take one more time out. We'll come back. We'll talk about that, and we'll give you our picks for who will win Super Bowl 59. You're listening to 3 and Out, the grand finale show number 7, the Ben Roethlisberger episode here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of the sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And of course, welcome back to 3 and Out, the grand finale show number 7 here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we're now less than 2 hours from kickoff. Of course, coming up at 5 o'clock, Larry B takes over with our ultimate pregame show, the grand finale show number 8, which is our one last show before the kickoff. Of course, check out our awesome spot. It's been a fun day here at the network. We got thank you to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and of course, our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. You go to getrawnutrition.com, use the promo code IESR, and you get 10% off of your purchase. So please take advantage of that. That's fantastic. So, of course, we'll talk about the Hall of Fame, which got announced at the NFL Honors on Thursday. By the way, I think they did a good job not leaking that out we're used to that leaking out before the honor ceremony. They do, I think, a great job of not putting that out there.
Yeah,
Before we get into who got snubbed, because I think that, as I said before the break, I think that's more the summarization of this class as opposed to the actual class itself. There are four members of this Hall of Fame class. Eric Allen, former cornerback, which I remember him from the Raiders, and I remember him from ESPN. We used to do a lot of analyst work there. Jared Allen, great pass rusher. Antonio Gates and Sterling Sharp. So 2 tight ends get in, which I think is kind of surprising.
Good point.
But what are your thoughts on this overall class as a whole?
Okay, so like we spoke, I and you said it too. We mentioned it when we had our blog before we were doing this. Why were there only 4? Usually there's more. Right, and I read something today that they had the list out before the list came out, and it was from NFL too. It was an NFL article, and it did say, "Look forward to 5 of the next Hall of Famers coming out of this group," and there was only 4, which is very surprising. As far as the 4 that was selected, Eric Allen. I think there's other guys on that list that deserve to get in before him. Jared Allen was a beast, and he was a 7th round pick. I remember him when he was on the the Vikings, of course. He was well deserved because defensive lineman. He deserved it. Sterling Sharp and Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates was amazing. I mean, I think he had an injury during 1 or 2 of the years that he was there. I don't know. Maybe Terran could, if he's out there, he could respond to that. But that guy was amazing. That was Phillip Rivers' go-to guy, man. That guy was always there for a big play. And Sterling Sharp, he played for Green Bay, and like you said, that was a very fun fact that 2 tight ends got in. But I have a fact on all 4 of these guys that were in the Hall of Fame. And I like I said before, I was talking about the memorabilia with the accolades stack up there, like, their worth. Neither one of these 4 have won a Super Bowl. So did the Hall of Fame pick these guys on stats or their longevity of their careers? Because I did my show Friday, and I was going to go over all 6 Super Bowls that the Steelers won, but why do that? Everybody knows how we won and whatever. So what I did was I did like a prelude to the show here. I did the Super Bowl, the super guys who won the Super Bowls and who was in the Hall of Fame. And there was 27 guys out of the 39 that are in the Hall of Fame for the Steelers. They all won Super Bowls and are in the Hall of Fame. Well, 2 of them were with different teams, but that's a story for another day. And that just shocked me that when I looked at the list this morning when I was going over it and I saw that. And none of them made the Super Bowl. And like I said, Eric Allen, I don't know. When we go over the snubs, I mean, you could probably see why. I can't understand why he's in there. Well, maybe he should have been the 5th guy. I mean, one of the guys that we're going to talk about as far as the snubs should have made it, and maybe Eric Allen should have made it as like the 5th guy. I don't know. Maybe you know more about Eric Allen than I do, but I just don't see it. Why? Because he's an Eagle? Was he an Eagle? They had to put an Eagle from the Super Bowl. Not that he was in the Super Bowl, but because the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, they had to put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I don't get the Eric Allen one, but
So Eric Allen was a 6-time Pro Bowler. I think it looks like an all pro in 1989, first team, couple second all pros, 14-year career, 54 interceptions. So they're definitely found a way to take the ball from everybody.
Yeah,
led the league in interception yards in 93. Look, great player in his own right. I think to me, like you said with Antonio Gates, I think like we talked about with Phillip Rivers, who's eligible next year. I think we look at the Chargers a lot different if they're playing if Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger weren't in an area in the AFC. I think we're looking at Phillip Rivers as a completely different type of quarterback who will be on the ballot next year.
For sure. That whole class, Eli, Ben, and Phillip Rivers. You stack up there, well, you could stack those 3 guys' wins up against any quarterback class, and I'm sure they'll be ahead. That was a great quarterback class. Not for nothing.
No doubt. I think Jared Allen, to me, also is – we think about him a lot of times with the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, former Chief, spent some time with the Bears and the Panthers, wreaked havoc in the NFC North for his ability to rush the quarterback. So props to him for getting in the Hall of Fame. I think the rule, like you mentioned, is you can only vote put in 5 from the modern era.
That's what the article said.
Yep.
Of the 5, they had the whole list of the guys that they picked from, and it was from the NFL. The article was from the NFL. Of these 5, these who probably going to get picked, and like I just mentioned, why would it's only 4?
Mm-hmm. So it leads to who got snubbed, and we can talk about a bunch of these guys who got snubbed. Each of us are going to give, I think, 2.
Before we get into the stubs, I just want to give you a stat on Jared Allen that I wrote down. He had 136 sacks, 19 forced fumbles, and 57 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, and 2 defensive TDs. Now you're looking at 57 pass deflections. That's from a lineman. I guess it's safe to say he always had his hands up, even if he was getting blocked. That's an insane stat. I just wanted to get that out there. Fun fact.
Nah. There we go. Another fun fact. We'll save the ticker on this one. But all right, who are your 2 that you think got the biggest snubbed out of this class?
All right. Well, as far as me saying Eric Allen shouldn't, all right, he should have made it, but I'll give you my biggest snub because I'll leave the other guy to you because I know he's your boy. So like they say, the Hall of Fame, they call it the knock, and it came and went. What that means is you get the knock and you're going to go to the Hall of Fame. They make a big production of it. They send some type of person to the person's house, and I think they have like a gold jacket they hand them. But I think my biggest snub was Eli Manning. And, he joins Jim Plunkett as the only Hall of Fame eligible starting quarterbacks to win 2 Super Bowls and not be enshrined. He like we mentioned before too, he was involved in an era with his brother Peyton, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, and that seems like what a lot of quarterbacks have went up against. Can you say Eli was elite compared to them? They say wins are not a quarterback stat, but the truth is Super Bowl wins matter a lot in this context. Wins get you to the playoffs, division titles, home field advantage, and Super Bowls. Don't forget, he beat an undefeated Patriots team. And he was the best New York Giant player every year he was there, in my opinion. So, and I believe he was a Super Bowl MVP. So there's that thing I was talking about at the beginning with the accolades. This guy has the accolades. Why isn't he there? Is it because he's a first-time, entry? Which has got me totally worried now because in 2 years, who's eligible to go into the Hall of Fame on his first year, and it's Ben Roethlisberger. And I don't know. After I saw Eli get snubbed, I'm saying to myself, I don't know. They might snub Ben. Because they basically have the same stats. I mean, Ben has more wins, but the NFL ain't going by wins. They're not going by wins for a quarterback. It looks like they're going for stats, and that's my snub.
I think the only thing that was shocking for me, because I talked about it last week on New York State Sports, and I'll bring it up again on Monday, is I was shocked Eli wasn't even close. Like, I think if it was like right on the cusp, like in that last 8, I think it could go okay. He's probably going to get in next year, the year after that. And I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, I kind of don't like that designation because it shouldn't matter which ballot you're on. But I think he does get dinged for he has a lot of interceptions in his career. And like it or not, the regular season, he's a 500 quarterback. Now, he's had one of the greatest look at the 07 run from a statistical standpoint, one of the better postseason runs by a quarterback, considering he beat Romo and the Cowboys as the 1 seed, beat Favre in a cold NFC Championship game, and then beat Brady in the Super Bowl.
But that
So
seems like it don't count. That's what I'm
I
saying.
think he gets.
Accolade.
I think
These are all
I think he gets
accolades.
dinged. He gets dinged wrongfully for the defense probably being one of the big reasons of the first one. The second one was Eli. I think easily because Giant defense was with Jerry Reese was nowhere near what it was in 07 with Tuck,
Correct.
Strahan, OC, all those guys. Like I think he gets wrongfully dinged for that. I think he will get in, but like you said, Breeze being on the ballot next year doesn't help him. Rivers being on the ballot next year doesn't help him because I think you could look at Rivers in a different situation.
There's still guys out there that are, you know, you could say better than Eli. Like I'm saying, I'm worried about Ben, worried about better than Ben. But who knows? I don't know. The NFL, like I said at the start, none of these guys have any Super Bowl trophies. And I'm sure if you look back on all these guys that are in the, you know, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl's a part of it. Go back to the legacy we talked at the beginning. What's Eli Manning's legacy? He beat the Patriots. They were undefeated. He won that game. He went out there and won the Super Bowl against an undefeated team. He beat the Patriots. I mean, as well, you know, and he's got the name too, but you know.
Speaking of the Patriots, the name I would bring up there is Adam Vinatieri. I get it. We're not looking at first time kickers, but you consider this kicker has got 4 Super Bowl titles, 3 with the Patriots, 1 with the Colts, has 2 game-winning Super Bowl field goals.
Yes, I have that written down.
I think has, to me, one of the greatest kicks in NFL history, which is the kick in the snow against the Raiders. Which I don't know how anybody saw that kick go through, but it did. Like, to me, one of the most clutch kickers of all time. I'm looking at his playoff stats in particular. And this is a guy that was in the playoffs a good portion of his career. And when you look at his postseason, he had 30, he played in 32 games in the postseason. He was 70 for 71 on extra points. So he missed 1 extra point in his playoff career. Now, he did play in an era where they had the extra point still on like the 3-yard line. I think he was toward the end of the extra point back rule. But let's look at field goals. He was 56 for 69 on field goals. That's 81% in a 15-year period. He made 5 out of 7 from 50 or more. Like, what else do we want out of a kicker than that? To me, I know people argue Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker of all time. To me, it's Adam Vinatieri. The Patriots don't win both those Super Bowls. If you remember the Houston Super Bowl against Carolina, he got a kick blocked in that game and still responded by making the field goal at the end. And the Ram kick, you look at that Ram kick, that was a high 40-yard field goal. That was not an easy kick in the dome, in this dome that they're playing the game in a couple hours. Like, that's not an easy kick to make.
No, not
especially on that stage. And, of course, he's remembered for the tackle for Herschel Walker and all those things. So, to me, I don't know how to – but I think this class, you could look at a couple guys. We only have a couple minutes left, but like Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, because Isaac Bruce is it and Torrey Holt's not. To me, that doesn't make too much sense. I know people looked at Willie Anderson, the offensive lineman. Fred Taylor would be, I think, another one. I look at Fred Taylor as one of the better running backs I've seen. So there's a lot to get into, but of course we can talk about that in a future show.
Larry just put up there, that's so true. What more can you ask from a kicker? And I agree. I agree totally with what you're saying, what Larry said, because the notes he was my other snub. My 2 snubs for this segment were Adam Vinatieri and Eli Manning.
He's not Mike Vanderjagt. People remember Mike Vanderjagt, great regular season numbers with the Colts.
Just
go watch that kick he epically missed against your Steelers.
I know. Thank God. That was a day to remember. Like you said, he had a game tying kick and a game winning kick in the Tuckville game. Not only did he kick the game winning, he kicked the game tying kick.
The tying kick, we'll remember the winning kick. The winning kick was like a 28-yard field goal. They cleared the snow for him.
He hit the game winning kick in Super Bowl 36. He kicked the game winner versus the Panthers in Super Bowl 38. And, he had memorable moments, like you said, all-time leader in points. And like I wrote in my last note here, I thought it was a fantasy knock. He should have got the knock on the door, man. Maybe the NFL doesn't. They don't. You know, they don't want to promote their special teams players.
Hopefully next year. I mean, we know we took a long time for Devin Hester to get in.
I think,
Devin Hester is the greatest returner.
Ray Guy is a punter. He's in the Hall of Fame, and Jan Stederud is the other kicker. I don't think there's many others. So. Something like that. It's a story for another day.
Mm-hmm. So we got 5 minutes before we hand this off to Larry. Let's give our predictions. Who do you like to win tonight and why?
All right, so I'll just repeat what I repeated on my show Friday. I'm going with the Chiefs 29-26. I see the first half being a 13-10 Eagles lead, and then I foresee a big play in the second half. Of course, every play is big at the Super Bowl, but I foresee a big play by the Chiefs in the second half to mount their comeback either on special teams or defensive touchdown. And that'll and the Eagles will have the ball. This is what I said on my show Friday. The Eagles will have the ball with a chance to win down by 3. And as I said it on my show, they're going to fall a push-tush short. And I got the Chiefs 29-26 for the 3-peat.
So the difference for me is people asked me all the week, like, who do I think is going to win? I said, who do I want to win and who I think is going to win are two totally different things. I want the Eagles to win. Right?
That's true. That's a good point. Yes.
Because
I'm in the same boat.
Again, I can't wear this jersey and want the Chiefs to win because the Chiefs, everything they do affects what we look at back at the Patriot dynasty. So I look at it from the Eagles. I think I want the Eagles to win. But I look at this game. Eagles defense is fantastic. Jalen Carter, I think, is going to be so much fun to watch. The problem is that the Eagles are not blowing them out in the second half. I can't see how the Chiefs lose if that's the case because Patrick Mahomes just does everything. He finds a way to get it done. They don't even have a running game that much, and they still do it.
And they still win.
I know people looked at DeAndre Hopkins as the next factor in this game. I think Xavier Worthy could have a really huge game. And I don't think he'll win MVP, but it'd be pretty darn close. I'm going to say the Chiefs win. I think it's high scoring. I'm going to say 34-31. I think Patrick Mahomes just finds a way and gets that 3-peat. And everybody talks about the Chiefs for days, and then we'll see if anybody can dethrone them. But to me, the NFL, as I've said, is the parity isn't there. They pretend it's there. It's not there. And I think that I don't like that they kind of make it like a farce like it is because nobody beats this team. They don't know how to beat this team. No one knows how to beat this team is Burrow and the guy in the booth. That's it.
I did say that even though I picked the Chiefs to win, I did say I think Barkley's going to win the MVP. I think he's going to have a monster game.
Oh, no, I agree. I think Saquon's going to definitely.
But like I said, I'm picking him to win the MVP, and they're not winning the game. So that was my little.
That would be one awkward celebration.
Yeah.
We've seen it in hockey.
It's the NFL. Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I just hope the refs don't come in there and screw everything up, and I don't want to.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic for the day. So of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Rickinator or X at Rickinator555. Follow the show at NY State Sports IE. You can catch me tomorrow, Mondays at noon on the network, and of course, you could also check out Ralph every Friday at 8 p.m. on the Yinzer Report at Calise786 and at Yinzer Report _IE. I'm sure both of us will be tweeting during the game. We're going to have some fun along the way. I think this has been a heck of a lot of fun. Ralph, we need to do more crossovers more often. This is great.
Awesome. This was awesome.
Thanks to all those who tuned in. It's been fantastic. Enjoy the rest of the game tonight. So we are going to now take the ball and we are going to hand it over to our next pregame show. Larry B, Matthew Owens, of course, you can hear on USRN coming up at 6:30 to get you ready with all the storylines.
Go get him, Larry. Go get him.
For Super Bowl 59. So for Ralph and for myself, Ricky K, enjoy the game. Have a great time tonight. Stay safe.
Take care, guys.
And we will see you next time.